Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Fast Forward. You guys remember that? I believe it was on CITV. Used to watch that a lot as a kid. Mutant Mayhem, directed by Jeff Rowe, who was the co-director for the film The Mitchells vs. the Machines. That was a Netflix animated film that I loved. I still love it. Doesn't have to be past tense. I did love it past tense when I saw it. It's a great movie. I recommend it. I think it's excellent. Anyway, that's a whole separate video, whole separate movie, whole separate opinion. Let's get back on. Let's actually start talking about Mutant Mayhem. I went into this with incredibly reasonable expectations. I didn't go in expecting something amazing. I wasn't particularly hyped to see it. I was just hoping for a good time. And I'm happy to say it was a good time. I think this is a film that will strike a pretty resonant chord with kids and teenagers, especially. Not just because it uses like slang and references pop culture things that kids and teenagers would know, and they'll be like, oh, they said Drake, oh, they said TikTok. No, I think the style and charm of this film is irresistible. This film is incredibly buzzing with life and heart and personality. Through the animation, through the voice acting and chemistry, through the actualization of these portrayals of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles characters, Splinter, Donatello, Raphael, Mikey, and Leonardo. They are brilliant in this film. And I am not like a die-hard TMNT guy. I am aware that quite a few die-hard TMNT guys are like not feeling the direction of this film because it isn't particularly canonically accurate, I guess. You know, Raphael, as far as I know him to be, for example, he's a super moody, he's like the emo guy. He's like proper like stern and like, he's like the Batman, you know, of the group. He's not really like that in this film. Instead, with this film, the turtles are basically like your average teenagers in this film. They roast each other, they record each other doing dumb stuff, they sneak out at night without telling their dad, Splinter, who's voiced by Jackie Chan, who is amazing in this movie. Maybe my personal favorite voice performance is between him and Ice Cube, who plays the villain, Superfly. He was fucking great. Really good choice. Ice Cube's voice rules. One of the best just voices in general. Yeah, great decision, getting him on board. And this film was funny. It was a funny movie, charming movie. In fact, it leans pretty hard on its comedy. I think that's like the film's crutch, is the laugh factor. If you don't find this film funny, you're not gonna like it. I think that's really the make or break. This film is throwing quips at you, throwing visual gags at you constantly. Literally constantly. It's every 3 seconds. It's on a Lego movie, like Phil Lord, Chris Miller type shit. It's like all the time, okay? Which that could be a great thing if you're on board with the film's charm, if you're on board with the type of humor it's throwing at you. For the most part, I had a lot of laughs. I thought it was great. That being said, I thought in the last act, particularly, in the second half, last act, there's a scene involving a big machine that the turtles are interacting with, and a character sort of bursts through to sort of check on them, and then kind of a fight ensues. From that fight scene onwards, the jokes really start to lose me. I start to find them annoying. There were quite a few moments where I was like, you really just didn't need to say that. It wasn't funny. You just forced in a joke because you felt like you had to hit a joke quota, I guess. Let's be real, bro. Kids got trash attention spans. I took my little cousins to see Spider-Verse recently. One of these cousins declared Into the Spider-Verse, the first film, as his favorite movie of all time. So I'm like, oh, let me go take you to see the sequel. You know, you're gonna love it. An hour into the movie, this dude's like doing this. He's like face over here, like his butt is sticking in the air. He's like falling asleep. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Because his attention span sucks. Just being real. So these films feel like they gotta throw in a million jokes. I get it. It keeps the kids engrossed into what they're seeing. But me personally, I found it a little exhausting. And the film is just a tidy 90 minutes, which I do appreciate. I do think the time maybe could have been used a little better. Some of the fight sequences I thought were just a little bit drawn out. Some of the chase sequences and fight sequences, well, they weren't visually exciting enough to me to justify how much of the screen time they took up. I would have personally just enjoyed more scenes with the turtles. Just being turtles. They were the best part of them. There was one fight sequence I thought was incredibly creative where they're like in 5 different locations in the same scene and the sort of snapbacks between them. I thought that was visually wonderful. If all the other fight scenes were as creative and exciting to look at as that, then I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying about the fight scenes. But overall, I felt they were quite often a little bit plain and overly long. The turtles are amazing in this film. I saw a thing where Seth Rogen, who was involved with the production and the writing of this film heavily, that explains why it is a very funny movie, but they said something interesting in like an interview I saw somewhere promoting this movie, talking about how, oh yeah, we just let the voice cast for the turtles, they're all teenagers, we just let them just do their thing, and we just recorded it. They were just talking shit, roasting each other, being silly, whatever crazy stuff came to their heads. We just recorded it and used that for the movie because it was a very natural dynamic. And you really feel that. Any scene where it's just the four of them hanging out talking is beautiful. And April O'Neil, played by my fucking girl, Ayo Edebiri from The Bear. She plays Sydney in The Bear, one of the best characters in TV right now. My fucking hero. Love her. She was amazing in this film as April O'Neil. She was perfect. That sort of awkward, sort of like reclusive journalist aficionado kind of character. She was perfect for it. She captured that sort of shyness really nicely. We got to talk about the way the film looks as well. Thought it was fantastic. It does adopt the Spider-Verse films as, you know, aesthetic quite heavily, and I think that's amazing. I love that Into the Spider-Verse has just like ended up being this seed for kind of a new era of animation, even in the Mitchells versus the Machines, and also in Puss in Boots, and now this. You're just seeing like more films clearly wear that influence on their sleeves, and it's because Into the Spider-Verse was just so fire. Like, that was such a banger movie as well, on top of it having such an original look. And this film does a really good job of paying homage to that style, but also carving it into its own thing. This film looked like Spider-Verse, but it didn't feel like Spider-Verse. To me, it had its own individual sort of personality and charm, which I thought was really cool. The style was a little bit more hand-drawn, looking more sketchbook-esque than it is in Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse definitely has a more fluid sort of feel to it than this one does. This one looks a bit more like scrappy. And I mean that pretty literally in the case of one scene. The turtles kind of start mapping out like a plan that they're going to do. Like, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and they're sort of mapping out their big main plan. And during this scene, this moment where they're sort of relaying onto you their big master plan, the film like diverts to a whole different, literally hand-drawn like animation style that I thought looked really great, and there were some amazing visual gags in there that I loved. This is a nitpick, but the intro has a little moment with this guy played by Giancarlo Esposito, and it's sort of showing the origin story of the villain, Superfly. The way he was talking, the way it was written was so like very blatantly clearly for the viewer. I don't know if it like, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, I guess. Yeah, I don't know, like he was just talking to the fly, but he was really talking to you, you know? I don't know, it felt really unnatural to me. Again, the film's got to appeal to kids, so they got to make sure it's clear what's going on, what the motivation was, who we're dealing with. I get that. I was just watching it thinking like, bro, no one talks like this when they're by themselves. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever, I'm just being a piece of shit. Anyway, there is a mid-credit scene, by the way, that sequel baits extremely hard, so hopefully they get the funding for a sequel. Apparently it's already made back its budget. That's really nice to hear. Love that. It deserves it. It's a really good film that clearly loads of love and care went into. I think whilst this in its own right is a great film, they killed it, they did what they set out to do, and they accomplished a very entertaining movie in the process that I will gladly rewatch and show people and recommend to people. They killed it. They don't need to make a sequel because they did it really well right here. But if they do end up making a sequel, then I would love that. I would be down for that. I would want to see that because they have laid a great foundation for a sequel on top of providing a very complete and satisfying film in Mutant Mayhem. So thumbs up for me, bro. I really enjoyed it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. That's everything I gotta say on this movie. Go see it out in theaters right now. What a fucking lineup you got. Mate, cinemas right now got plenty to go see, plenty to go check out. We're in a good spot. We're in a good spot as far as movies to see right now. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Go stream some vale-smith. Go leave me a question in the comments for my upcoming Q&A, please. And I'll catch you later. Much love to you all. Bye.